Greetings, family. Hope everybody's doing well. I know some of y'all, some of y'all will be seeing this video for the first time, so I hope you enjoy this discussion that we're going to be having. This discussion is a very important discussion, and it's basically, as you guys can see by the title, it's going to be a discussion between the New Testament believers and the Tanakh only believers, right? Those who believe in just the Tanakh, just the Old Testament. Basically, what we're going to be discussing is some crucial things that um, people who are Tanakh only believers, things that we see in the Old Testament, right? Things that are things that we question, right? Things that when people say, yo, this is about the Messiah, we see those things. So that's what we're going to be testing. Just want to give a shout out to those just coming in. Welcome, family. To my moderator, thank you for showing up. I appreciate you. This is going to be a really interesting uh, night. And it's not just going to be a night where people are just bashing each other back and forth, because I know that's what grabs everybody's attention. They want to see a bash off, right? Most people, they come in these debates and they're like, yo, I want to see somebody take somebody's head off. Which, when we get into it, when the panel is open and the discussion is open, yeah, there may be some back and forth. It may get heated. I don't know who's gonna come on the panel. I've thrown out invitations, especially to my those that I know are either Christian or Messianic believers. Believe it or not, the personal invitations that I shot to some of the people that I was hoping to get on, at first they sounded very excited, and then they just bailed out on having a conversation. I'm like totally bailed out. And some of them I've had previous discussion, as you guys have seen me on my channel with brother uh, Ron Shields, also known as Divine Prospect. You've seen me on with him, and he was a major this is somebody who's got a lot of scholarly work done. And I was like, yo, this will be the best brother to build with, to break down scripture, to ask questions, to go back and forth. So I got on his channel, and him on his channel, he was supposed to do a part 2 of the Tanakh only. Ron Shields, brother Divine Prospect, with Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, he was supposed to do a part 2 of the Tanakh only discussion that I joined his when I hopped on his panel when he opened it up. And ever since we had that conversation, and I proved in his video, I proved that the branch in Zechariah chapter 6 was not referring to Yeshua, Yahushai, Jesus. Ever since I proved to him that the branch was not talking about this New Testament Messiah, once I proved that, he said, okay, well, we're going to do a part 2. He was juiced. He was like real enthusiastic about it. All of the sudden, I reached out to him one time after. He said, yeah, that's an important discussion to have. I reached out again, nothing, sent email, nothing. Hit him up on his live stream that he had one day. I said, hey, bro, what's up with the Tanakh 2? Tanakh only part 2. I thought you was going to go in on us, after the first session, when I showed up and I showed you who the branch was in Zechariah chapter 6, it seemed like you just kind of skated. So the next week he didn't do Tanakh 2. The following week, he said he was going to do it. He didn't do it. And that was been about 4 weeks later, and the man still hasn't done it. And what he's actually been doing, which is surprising to me, is that the man has been debating people about the Trinity doctrine, and he's got time to debate people about all these other topics now, right? He's got time to debate people about all these other topics, but he doesn't want to come back to dealing with Tanakh only and going over these prophecies. And I find that highly suspect. Because if this man, as much as a scholar as Divine Prospect says he is, and I know some people may disagree with me calling him out or whatever, I'm just keeping it 100. As much as a scholar as he says he is, when it comes to this topic, not only him, but I'm finding that a lot of other teachers are running away from the discussion. They don't even want to have it. They'll go and debate the law 1,000 times a year. But this conversation right here, a lot of people are running from it. Why? Because there's something that is being revealed during this time about this New Testament that is getting these people that have been teaching the New Testament, it's getting them shook up. It's getting them shook up because there's questions that they don't have answers to. So what we're going to do is tonight, I don't want it just to be like I said, a bashing. I want it to be edifying. So what's going to happen tonight is we're going to go over how to study prophecy a little bit. I'm going to try to intermingle somewhat of a teaching into this discussion / debate, whatever you want to call it, right? And then I'm going to open it up for people to join, ask questions. Hey, let me know what you think, how you feel, if there's anything, that you question, or is there anything you think I'm missing? I'm open to have that discussion representing the Tanakh only. And we're going to, like I said, we'll open up the panel and others can jump on. So, yeah, but right now, welcome to those that are just coming in. I'm going to give me just like a couple minutes here. I'm trying to make sure that this feed is up and out, on my other platforms so that people can join and make sure that they're jumping in. So, but yeah, it's really gonna go down, family. Like, for those, it's really interesting. Somebody sent me an email, and this is something I want to mention to everybody. Before you get into discussion, before you get in the panel, just once I open it up, just keep in mind that I want to deal with a specific prophecy today. All right. What normally happens when you get in these discussions with people, what normally happens is, and people know, my brothers and sisters who are even in the New Testament, when you get into a discussion with somebody and it's about a particular topic, right? They're so quick to try to run to another topic, run to another topic before they even let you finish the verse that you're breaking down. They're ready to run to another verse. So that I don't want to happen today. So we're going to be going over Isaiah chapter 7. All right. We're going to be going over Isaiah chapter 7, and we're going to discuss Isaiah chapter 7. And after we discuss and break down Isaiah chapter 7, that's when we're going to open up dialogue, and we're going to try to keep it focused around Isaiah chapter 7. Now, towards the end, we may open it up for other discussions. Maybe you can suggest, hey, let's look at this prophecy. I already have some in mind, but we can open up for that. All right. So with that being said, actually, let's go ahead and let me go ahead and get into it. Let me share my screen so you guys can see. You guys can see what I have ready. We can get into it. All right. So this is what we're going to focus on today. Just understanding the books of the prophets. This is how we're going to start. How to understand the books of the prophets. All right. How to understand the books of the prophets, because this is important. A lot of people, me myself included, I have, when I used to read the prophets, like when I first started, I used to get a headache. I'll read a certain amount, not really understand everything I'm reading, and I would get a headache. And I know many of y'all can relate to that. I know many of y'all can relate to that and say like, yeah, when I first started reading the prophets, I would get into them, read a certain amount, and get a headache, right? So that what I'm going to do now is try to explain to help make it easier for you to go over the prophets, because that's the most important thing. When we're breaking down, we're going to have these discussions. I really want to set a nice firm foundation to build on these discussions, because I don't want it just to be a one time. I'm hoping we can do this weekly, break down prophecy. So looking at this, right? Let's looking at this. All right. Whoops. Went a little too fast. All right. When we're looking at prophecies, there are key questions you must ask when dealing with prophecies. You must ask these key questions, right? All right. Even write them down as you're reading prophecies. This is going to help you understand them a lot better. All right. So that when you have conversations with people about prophetic fulfillment, you can be prepared properly to have that conversation and know what you're talking about. Don't just sound like you know what you're talking about. You quote one verse out of an entire chapter, entire book of prophecy, and you think you got it all figured out. That shows when you do that, when you just quote one verse and try to build a whole philosophy off of one verse, somebody like me who's more studied is going to be like, yo, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And so the first question when you're going through prophecies, okay, number one, who was prophesying, right? Number one, who was prophesying? Number two, when were they prophesying? And what time period, basically? So when were they prophesying? What time period were they prophesying in? All right. Number three, what other books or prophets are connected to this time period? All right. And I'm going to show you how to do all this stuff. And we're going to use Isaiah 7 as the example. We're going to use Isaiah chapter 7 as the example when breaking this down. And then we're going to open it up for discussion. All right. So number four, where were they prophesying? What area were they prophesying? What nation were they prophesying in? Right. These are the things you want to know. Who were they prophesying to? Who were they speaking to? Were they speaking to all of Israel? Were they speaking to a king? Were they speaking to a Gentile nation? Right. Number six, why were they prophesying? Why? What was the purpose of them prophesying? Was the Most High mad or angry? Was something about to come and he was warning them? Right? Were they about to go to war and the Most High is telling them exactly what's going to happen? Why were they prophesying? All right. Number seven, what did they prophesy? This is important. I'm sure a lot of you guys are knowing number seven is important. And I'm not surprised it just ended up being number seven. I didn't do that by coincidence, but what did they prophesy? Right? Number eight, when or what time period was that prophecy expected to be fulfilled in? This is very important because are you dealing with something that's further along the line, or are you dealing with something that's coming up quick? Right? Are you dealing with something that's 10, 20, 30 years off? Or are you dealing with an end time prophecy as mentioned like in the book of Daniel, where the Most High specifically tells them what's going to happen in the end time? Right? And then number nine, was it fulfilled in the expected time period? All right. Was the prophecy fulfilled in the expected time period? If it was fulfilled, you can say, well, all right, hey, let's knock this off the list. This was fulfilled. All right. If it's not, then you can say, hey, this is a later prophecy. This is an end time prophecy. This is what it's dealing with. Okay. So these are the questions you got to ask. And I'm going to go over these questions and break down Isaiah 7, the prophecy of Isaiah 7, using this format. And I'm going to be breaking down each one so you can see and know and keep this at hand. Keep this mechanism, these questions, keep them ready when you go over other prophecies. And I'm going to even show you how to shortcut and take out some of the reading, because I know sometimes, like I said, when you read a whole book, when you read an entire book, it can be heavy. It can be very heavy material, and you might get a headache, you might get sleepy, So I'm going to show you how to kind of shortcut that today. All right. So when we're dealing with Isaiah 7, the first question, who was prophesying, right? Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1. I'm reading from the Brenton Greek Septuagint for those who already know, who know me. This is the translation that I trust. It goes back to 250 BC, which is older than the King James by over 1,000 years. And it's the most accurate translation of the scriptures. A lot of, the KJV people may argue, but this translation goes back way further, comes out of the time period, like right around the Maccabees, King Alexander and all that, because that's when the Greeks got a hold of the Hebrew words. So that's just my background on that. All right. But Isaiah 1:1, right? So who was prophesying? The vision which Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw, which he saw against Judah and against Jerusalem in the reign of Ozias and Jotham and Ahaz and Ezekiah, who reigned over Judea, right? So first we see, okay, this is dealing with Isaiah's prophecy. He's the one prophesying, right? Number two, when were they prophesying? What time period? Once again, in Isaiah 1:1, he gave us the time period, the vision which Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw, which he saw against Judah and against Jerusalem in the reign of Ozias and Jotham and Ahaz and Ezekiah, who reigned over Judea. All right, so this was during the reign of Ozias and Jotham and Ahaz and Ezekiah, who reigned over Judah. So now we're getting the time period of the kings that were reigning. All right, so this is how you can begin to start putting things together. And now I'm going to show you how to search these out in a little bit and make it very simple. All right, now a part of Isaiah 7, verses 1-3, it says, and it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Ozias, right? So now we see it's in the days of Ahaz. This is the time period. It's in the days of King Ahaz. All right, we're dealing with the Isaiah 7 prophecy. All right, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Ozias, king of Judah. There came up Razin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remelius, king of Israel, against Jerusalem to war against it. All right, so now what just happened? Sorry about that. So this was during a time when these two kings, the Razin, king of Aram, and Pekah, king of Israel, were coming to war against Jerusalem. It says, but they could not take it, and a message was brought to the house of David, saying, Aram has conspired with Ephraim, and his soul was amazed in the soul of his people, as in a wood, a tree is moved by the wind. So these people were shaken, they were worried, right? So this is the time period. All right. And then it says in verse 3, and the Most High said to Isaiah, go forth to meet Ahaz, thou and thy son Jasub, who is left, to the pool of the upper way of the fuller's field. All right, so now we see the time period is happening during King Ahaz time period, and it's going on with this war. All right, so these questions are being answered, they're being knocked off. All right, now number 3, what other books? This is an important question that you have to ask when you're reading and want to get to know biblical prophecy. All right, because you want to be able to make the proper connections. So number 3, what other books or prophets are connected to this time period? All right, and for that, I'm going to show you how I make it easy on myself. All right, how I make this very easy. All right, so that way you can do it too. You can make sure you understand these prophecies, and you can kind of skip past things. All right, so give me just let me pull this screen up for you. All right, so here, let me make that bigger for you guys. All right, so what I normally do is, if you guys have heard of Bible Gateway is an excellent resource to use when you're doing topical studies. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the Brenton Greek Septuagint. That's the only downside. So you got to use a lot of what came out of the Masoretic text, those that were copied from the Masoretic. So I'm just going to do a quick search, right? We said it was during the time of Ahaz, right? We said it was during the time of Ahaz. So what you're going to do is, to make it simple, all right, type in Ahaz, right? Since we know it's during this time period where Ahaz is reigning, let's find out where Ahaz is mentioned in the book. All right, now here you see Ahaziah, which is not Ahaz. All right, so we're just gonna scroll down to where we see the name Ahaz come up. All right, and Ahaz is gonna come up right here. All right, so Ahaz comes up in 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 38. This is where we see the first time Ahaz's name is mentioned, I believe. All right, in the book of Kings, this is where we see it mentioned. All right, so we'll just read this one right real quick. It says, and Jotham slept with his fathers and was buried, and his fathers And Jotham slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, his father. All right. So you see, this is also dealing with the lineage of David. All right. And then it says, and Ahaz, his son, reigned in his stead. So now you see in the book of Second Kings, chapter 15, all right, we start to see Ahaz being mentioned. All right. So now you have a clue as to, okay, this is what is going to, this section of the scriptures is going to be talking about what happened when Ahaz was alive, because that's connected to Isaiah, since Isaiah was dealing in the time of Ahaz. All right. So this is a quick tool that you guys can use, to help you kind of line things up. Just type in keywords. All right, you'll see Second Kings. The next is going into the next chapter. In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. All right, so now you see pretty much into chapter 16. As you continue to read, you're going to see Ahaz come up, and it's just going to start going into Ahaz and the things that were happening with Ahaz. Verse 16. Now, what did we read in Isaiah, right? Chapter 7. What did we read? We read that the king Rezin was coming against Ahaz. So what do we see in 2 Kings 16:5? It says, then Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to war against it. Oh, what does that match? That directly matches exactly what we read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 7. All right, it says, and they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him. That's almost word for word what we read. Okay, so this is gonna, by typing in like keywords like that, looking for keywords, key people, it's usually the people that are make it the easiest, right? It's usually the people that make it the easiest, right? So we see that he's dealing in this time period. All right, and then if you even scroll to the next one, which I'm not going to take too much time on this. All right, but you see, as you scroll to the next one, you continue to see Ahaz mentioned all the way until it talks about Ahaz dying at some point. All right, in verse 20 of chapter 16, and Ahaz slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. Right, so we see 15 and 16 is where Ahaz is mentioned. All right, but on this side over here, what you can see over here is we also see other books, right? In Second Chronicles, you're going to see in First Chronicles, it goes over the lineage more so. In Second Chronicles, it really starts to break down Ahaz and the things that happen, because Kings and Chronicles kind of go over the wars and the acts of the kings. All right, so keep that in mind when you're dealing with kings in the books of the prophets. You want to line them up with the book of Kings or the book of Chronicles, because these go over the acts, so they match up together. All right, you also see like Hosea mentioned. What does it say in Hosea? It brings up Ahaz. Why? Hosea was prophesying in the time of Ahaz. All right, it says the word of the Most High that came to Hosea, the son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. That's literally what it said word for word in Isaiah chapter 1. So Isaiah and Hosea were prophesying in the same time period. You go down to Micah, you see the same thing, right? You see Micah. What does it say in Micah 1:1? The word of the Most High that came to Micah, the Morashite, in the days of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. So now you see that these three prophets were prophesying around the same time period. All right, so keep that in mind. All right, and if you wanted to do another search, right, just to show you how simple it is. If I wanted to search up the Babylonian captivity, I type in the word Babylon up here. It shows me all the times when Babylon comes up in the book, right? Jeremiah was a big prophet during the time of Babylon. He prophesied the Babylonian captivity along with even Isaiah. But look at Jeremiah, Babylon comes up 149 times in the book of Jeremiah. So that's a sign to tell you, if you want to know about the prophecies of Babylon and certain things, you can look and use this as your reference. So this website is really good, and it makes it a lot simple for y'all. All right. So yeah, let me come out of here and continue so that y'all can see what else, because that's all I had just for just to make it easier, for everybody to go over these prophecies and look up and look anything you want to study. Really, this helps with almost anything that you want to study. You can go over. All right. So now you see how I did that. All right. So dealing with Isaiah chapter 7 specifically, all right, we see 2 Kings chapter 15 through 2 Kings chapter 17. That's kind of the time period where we see Ahaz mentioned. All right. Also in 2 Chronicles chapter 27 through 2 Chronicles chapter 28, we're going to see Ahaz mentioned again. All right. And as I mentioned before, Hosea and Micah, it just showed that they were reigning, or they were prophesying during the times of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. All right. So dealing with Isaiah chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. All right. Number 4, the fourth question: where were they prophesying? Where were they prophesying? This is the scripture that's going to give us the answer to that. Where were they prophesying? All right. So where was Isaiah prophesying? It says in verses 1 through 3, and it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Ozias, king of Judah, there came up Razim, king of Aram, and Pekah, the son of Remalias, king of Israel, against Jerusalem to war against it, but they could not take it. And a message was brought to the house of David. So it's being brought to the house of David, which resides in Bethlehem, in Jerusalem. All right. Saying, Aram has conspired with Ephraim, and his soul was amazed, and the soul of his people, as in a wood, a tree is moved by the wind. And the Most High said to Isaiah, go forth to meet Ahaz, thou and thy son Jasub, who is left, to the pool of the upper way of the fuller's field. So this is taking place in Jerusalem. Obviously, if there's a war happening, you're not going to be some other place when there's two nations coming against you. All right. Who were they prophesying to? Just reading verse 3 again. And the Most High said to Isaiah, go forth to meet Ahaz, thou and thy son who is left, to the pool of the upper way of the fuller's field. So verse 3, they're going forth to meet Ahaz, because the Most High has a message for Ahaz. He's going to prophesy to Ahaz. Very simple. All right. Number 6 and 7, I combined these together because they're kind of deal with the same thing. It's kind of all wrapped in one, right? So why were they prophesying, and what did they prophesy, right? Once you hear the prophecy, it's going to tell you it's going to tell you the purpose of them prophesying. So that's why I have both of these wrapped together. All right. So Isaiah chapter 7, verses 3 through 5. All right. We're going to get to know verses 3 through 25. Sorry. We're going to get to know what the prophecy was and why it was prophesied. It's going to explain it once we hear the prophecy. All right. Starting in verse 3. All right. And the Most High said to Isaiah, go forth to meet Ahaz, thou and thy son Jasub, who was left, to the pool of the upper way of the fuller's field. And thou shalt say to him, take care to be quiet, and fear not, neither let thy soul be disheartened because of these two smoking firebrands. For when my fierce anger is over, I will heal again. All right. So we see it's dealing with these two nations that are coming against him so far. All right. It says, and as for the son of Aram and the son of Remalias, for as much as they have devised an evil counsel, saying, we will go up against Judea, and having conferred with them, we will turn them away to our side, and we will make the son of Tabeel king of it. Thus saith the Most High of hosts, this counsel shall not abide nor come to pass. So the first thing that we see is the prophecy. Why were they prophesying? He was prophesying because of these two kings that were coming against Ahaz and Jerusalem. This is the purpose of the prophecy. This is why they were prophesying, dealing with this war. All right. Now, what did they prophesy? Right? What did Isaiah prophesy? The first thing he prophesied, the Most High told him to say, is that thus saith, verse 7, thus saith the Most High of hosts, this counsel shall not abide nor come to pass. So that's the first thing he prophesied. Hey, Ahaz, don't worry. This is not going to come to pass. All right. This is not going to come to pass. All right. And in fact, in verse 4, he even told them to be quiet and fear not. Right. So the Most High is telling them, like, this is not going to come to pass. All right. Verse 8. Continuing from verse 8, it says, but the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus Razim, and yet within 65 years, whoops, sorry about that. Within 65 years, the kingdom of Ephraim shall cease from being a people. The kingdom of Ephraim shall cease from being a people. So now he's telling them, not only that, but Israel is not even going to be a people. Within 65 years, Israel is not going to be a people. They're not going to be there, right? And the head of Ephraim is Samaron, and the head of Samaron, the son of Ramelius. But if you believe not, neither will you at all understand. All right. So the Most High is getting Ahaz prepared. He's getting him prepared here. All right. Continuing in verse 10. All right. What did he continue to prophesy? Now, this is where everybody tends to make it a messianic prophecy. This is where everybody tends to make it a messianic prophecy. All right. It says in verse 10, continuing, and the Most High said again, and the Most High again spoke to Ahaz, right? This goes back to when we said, who is he prophesying? Who is he prophesying to, right? Right here it says, the Most High spoke again to Ahaz, saying, ask for thyself a sign of the Most High thy God, in the depth or in the height. And Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Most High. And he said, hear you now, O house of David. Why was he called house of David? Because he was from the lineage of David, ruling on the throne of David. All right. Is it a little thing for you to contend with men? How do you contend against the Most High? Therefore, the Most High himself shall give you a sign. Now, who is the you? The you is Ahaz from the house of David. That's who the you is. The Most High shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive in the womb. All right. So now what is he prophesying? A virgin shall conceive in the womb and shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. All right. Butter and honey shall he eat before he knows either to prefer evil or choose the good. For before the child shall know good or evil, he refuses evil to choose the good. And the land shall be forsaken, which thou art afraid of because of the two kings. Okay, so now we're looking at everything that's being prophesied. All right, so he's been told that the counsel of the two kings wouldn't stand against him. He's been told that a woman is going to give birth. He's been told that the child is going to eat butter and honey. Oh, also that the child's going to be named Emmanuel. Butter and honey shall he eat. And before the child knows to choose good or evil, he will choose the good, and the land shall be forsaken, which thou art afraid of, which was basically Aram and Israel. It says that the land shall be forsaken, which thou art afraid of because of the two kings. This is what's being prophesied here. All right. Now, I would normally stop right here because this is the meat. This is where we're going to focus. All right. But just to continue to read the rest of the prophecy. All right. I just want to read the rest of the prophecy so nobody thinks I'm like trying to cut it short. All right. Continuing from verse 17, it says, but the Most High shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon the house of thy fathers days which have never come from the day that Ephraim took away from Judah the king of the Assyrians. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall hiss for the flies, which insects shall rule over a part of the river of Egypt, and for the bee which is in the land of the Assyrians. And they shall enter into the clefts of the land, and into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves, and into every ravine. In that day the Most High shall shave with the hired razor of the king of Assyria beyond the river the head and the hairs of the feet, and will remove the beard. And it shall come to pass in that day that a man shall rear a heifer and 2 sheep, and it shall come to pass from their drinking an abundance of milk, that everyone that is left on the land shall eat butter and honey. Okay. Now we heard everything that was prophesied. All right. We heard that the nations weren't going to basically overtake Ahaz. We heard the sign that he was going to give him from the child, right? The child's going to be born, named Emmanuel. Butter and honey shall he eat, and the 2 kings, or the 2 nations which he was afraid of, the land is going to be forsaken, right? And then now we're told that he's going to basically cause a famine, and that when he causes this famine, that the people are going to be eating butter and honey. All right. So, and he's talking about he's going to be shaving folks. All right. He's going to be shaving with a hired razor. All right. Folks' heads. All right. And their feet and everything else. So we see this completion. This is the prophecy. This is it. And this is what it's dealing with. All right. Let me just finish it. And it shall come to pass in that day, for every place where there shall be 1,000 vines at 1,000 shekels, they shall become barren land and thorns. Men shall enter there with arrow and bow, for all the land shall be barren ground and thorns, and every mountain shall be certainly plowed. There shall no fear come thither, for there shall be from among the barren ground and thorns, that whereon cattle shall feed and oxen shall tread. So that's the whole prophecy. All right. That's the whole prophecy read out. All right. So going on to question number 8. When and what time period was the prophecy expected to be fulfilled? All right. This is a very crucial question. And this is like, there's only one other question after this. And then we're going to start getting into, well, I'm going to break that question down very thoroughly though. But after that, we can get into the discussion. If anybody has questions, comments, I'm going to open up the panels. I'm going to put the link so you guys can hop on and join the panel. All right. So question 8, when or what time period was that prophecy expected to be fulfilled in? All right. In Isaiah chapter 7, verses 3 through 16, we're going to get the answer to that. So it's kind of, we are going back over some things within what we read to pull out these answers. All right. It's not very difficult to study these prophecies. It's not very difficult. But when you're not taught how to study these prophecies and you're just reading the book straightforward, not having any kind of goal, nothing to achieve, it makes it harder to make sense out of it. So that's why I wanted to give you guys questions to ask when you're studying these prophecies so you can make sense out of them. Because if you don't try to make sense out of the prophecies, then somebody can take a prophecy out of context and say, this applied to me. Like we could have people going around today talking about this prophecy is me. And I know people that are doing that. Like, not like personally, I'm cool with them, but I know of people, I should say, that are doing that are like, yo, this prophecy right here talking about Michael, the angel, this is talking about me right now in this time period. How are you going to check that if you don't have the proper understanding of the prophecies? How are you going to check somebody, a false prophet coming up to you like, yo, this is me, if you don't have an understanding of the prophecies? Right. And so that's what, when we're looking at JC, that's what we're doing. All right. That's what we're doing. We're looking at JC and we're saying, okay, did he fulfill? Is this really him? Let's inspect these prophecies and let's find out if this is really him. All right. So continuing, when or what time period was the prophecy expected to be fulfilled in? All right. Starting in verse 3 of Isaiah 7, it says, and the Most High said to Isaiah, go forth to meet Ahaz, thou and thy son Jasub, who is left to the pool of the upper room of the fuller's field. And thou shalt say to him, take care to be quiet and fear not, neither let thy soul be disheartened because of the 2 smoking brands. For when my fierce anger is over, I will heal again. And as for the son of Aram and the son of Ramelius, for as much as they have devised an evil counsel, saying, we will go up against Judea, and having conferred with them, we will turn them away to our side, and we will make the son of Tabael king of it. So we'll look at what he says next. Verse 7, thus saith the Most High of hosts, this counsel shall not abide nor come to pass. But the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus, Razim. And yet within 65 years, all right, so we just got a time period. And yet within 65 years, the kingdom of Ephraim shall cease from being a people. That's the first time period. He's literally given us a direct time period when to expect his prophecy, his words to come to pass. All right. And then in verse 9, it says, and the head of Ephraim is Samaron, and the head of Samaron, Remelius. But if you believe not, neither will you at all understand. All right. And the Most High again spoke to Ahaz, saying, ask for thyself a sign of the Most High thy God in the depth or in the height. And Ahaz said, I will not ask for a sign, or I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Most High. And he said, hear you now, O house of David, is a little thing for you to contend with men. And how do you contend against the Most High? Therefore, the Most High himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive in the womb, and shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. Butter and honey shall he eat before he knows to prefer evil or choose the good. Now this is another time period. Before the child shall know good or evil, he refuses to choose the evil, and the land shall be forsaken, which thou art afraid of, because of the two kings. So now there's going to be we were already told, number one, Israel within 65 years was going to cease from being a people. And now the Most High is saying, Ahaz, there's going to be somebody born. And when you see that person born, before that child knows good or evil, he refuses evil to choose the good, and the land shall be forsaken, which thou art afraid of, because of the two kings. So the two kings, or the two nations coming against him, before this child that Ahaz sees with his own eyes, before the child gets to a certain age, the lands are going to be forsaken. So if you're asking the question, what time period was that prophecy expected to be fulfilled in? The answer is during Ahaz's lifetime. During Ahaz's reign, he was to see the two kings, or the two nations coming against him, pretty much overtaken. All right. So that's that question. All right. So now this is the last question right here. All right. But before we get to the last question, keep in mind, this is really important for people to realize. Keep in mind, as we look into Isaiah 7, keep in mind that if what he was prophesying, right? If what Isaiah was prophesying did not come to pass in the time period expected, he was to be put to death, right? Isaiah, the prophet, because I'm going to get to that. I'm going to read it right now, right? But what else did I say? I said that means that the majority of what he prophesied was to take place while he was living, right? The majority of what Isaiah prophesied was to take place while he was living, so that he could be proven to be a true prophet of the Most High. If Isaiah just prophesied a bunch of stuff and then died, and none of the things came true while Isaiah was living, what would have happened? They would have been like, yo, this dude was a false anyway, right? Or if things were scheduled to happen and they didn't happen, Isaiah was put to death. He should have been put to death. What precept is that, right? Consequences for a false prophet. I'm just going to read it. Deuteronomy 18 verses 20 through 22. But the prophet whosoever shall impiously speak in my name a word which I have not commanded him to speak, and whosoever shall speak in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die. But if thou shalt say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which the Most High has not spoken? Verse 22, whatsoever words that prophet shall speak in the name of the Most High, and they shall not come true and not come to pass, this is the thing which the Most High has not spoken. That prophet has spoken wickedly. He shall not, you shall not spare him. Okay. So Isaiah has to be proven as a legitimate prophet. He has to be proven. This is the first prophecy we see Isaiah speaking. The Most High is going to want to validate his prophets in this time period. Keep that in mind. So if he's prophesying something that's to take place in the near future, the Most High is going to make sure that he brings that to pass, because this is his mouthpiece. If his mouthpiece is not legit and accurate, no one's going to trust the Most High when he speaks through somebody. So he's going to want to prove his prophets to be right. You have to keep that in mind. You have to keep that in mind. All right. He's going to want to prove his prophets to be right. All right. So things have to come to pass. Things have to. They have to come to pass. Like, unless the Most High says, like, for instance, he gave us already one warning. He said, yo, within 65 years. So now they're like, okay, within 65 years, this is what we can look to expect, right? He says earlier in the book of Isaiah, I think it's in chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 2, starting in verse 1. The Most High says, in the last days. He's specific, in the last days, right? So he gives us the time periods. All right, so now the last question. Question number 9. Was it fulfilled in the time expected? Right? Was it fulfilled in the expected time period? All right. So now we're just going to break down these things. I'm going to try to be as quick as possible so that we can get into a conversation and dialogue. Hopefully we have some New Testament messianic believers that are listening and that are ready to answer questions, because after this, I'm going to be asking the questions that we're dealing with this prophecy, right? And then we'll open it up and see. And hey, if they all cat it out, then hey, there's nothing I can do about that. If they all cat it out, they all cat it out. All right, there have been some people that have been expected to join these conversations, but hey, if they went, you never know who convinced them not to or whatnot, or maybe they just But we're gonna go ahead and break down, all right, the fulfillment of the 3 signs given to Ahaz concerning the situation. All right, I'm just going to go over them quick and then we'll get into the questions. All right, so number 1, a virgin shall conceive and the baby shall be named Emmanuel. Butter and honey shall the child eat. The land or people which Ahaz is afraid of will be forsaken because of the 2 kings. All right, so if we can prove these things happened, all right, then we can say, hey, this prophecy came to fulfillment. All right. And then we can start asking questions to our New Testament believers and how they see that Yeshua, Jesus, Yahushai, how did he fulfill these prophecies? All right. How did he fulfill these prophecies that you're claiming are about him? All right. So the virgin shall conceive, baby named Emmanuel, Isaiah 7:14. Behold, a virgin shall conceive in the womb and shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. All right. Where is this fulfilled in Isaiah chapter 8, verses 1 through 3? It says, and the Most High said to me, take to thyself a volume of a great new book and write in it with a man's pen concerning the making a rapid plunder of spoils, for it is near at hand. And make me witnesses of faithful men, Urias and Zacharias, the son of Barachias. And I went into the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. So this is Isaiah going into the prophetess, meaning he had what's it called? He had intercourse with the prophetess, right? And she conceived. Now, this is controversial for people because they say, well, it was supposed to be a virgin, right? It was supposed to just be a virgin. All right. Well, if you do a study on that word virgin, the word is Alma. The word is Alma, and it says Ha Alma. I believe it says Ha Alma or just Alma, right? The word Alma means young woman. It means young woman, maiden. All right. And that's the Hebrew word for it and the breakdown of what that word actually means. So it's really saying a young woman. And I'm just going to show you real quick, because I know some people will say, oh, bro, you just making stuff up. That's not what it says. That's not what it means. Let me just go into this really quick. All right, let me just go into this really quick. I'm going to get back to the online. We're going to break down this word Alma, show you in the scriptures. All right. Um, whoops, did I pull it? Yeah, I pulled it right. All right, I'm just gonna show you with the Hebrew coordinates. All right, we're gonna look up this word virgin. We're gonna look up this word virgin in, all right, let me see if we can find it right here. All right, Alma. All right, and I'm gonna show you that this word, this is the word that's used in Isaiah. All right, so look right here, 7:14. Behold, a virgin. Okay, this is the word Alma. We're going to go to the Strongs. It says, behold, a virgin will be with child. All right, straight from Isaiah. Now look at what it says here. It says, Alma, a young woman, a virgin, right? A young woman, a virgin. You look at all the ways it's used. Where's that list at? Oh, no, maybe there's a list that gives you all the ways it's used. Oh, we see over here on the right, we see maiden, right? The maiden. So the girl and the maid and the maidens, the damsels with the maid, the maidens. You don't see, you do see virgin here, and this is in songs, right? But we see maiden or virgin. Now, if you look at one thing I want to show you, which is very interesting. All right, it's the NIV. All right, the NIV actually says, let me see if we can pull it up. The NIV, Isaiah 7:14. All right, notice it says, therefore the Most High Himself will give you a sign, the virgin. But then we have a note right here. Let's see the footnote. Or young woman. So even in the NIV, they acknowledge that, yo, this word also means young woman, and probably, I say probably is young woman, but they're just making a note that this could mean young woman as well, right? So I just wanted to break that down for clarity for those who are gonna say, oh, you're just making stuff up, right? I don't have time. I have too much um I have too much respect, all right, for my faith. I have too much respect for myself to let myself just be played by just some, you know, just some nonsense. Like that's not me. All right. I try to well research things. All right. So it says in Isaiah 8:1-3, and I went into the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. And the Most High said to me, call his name. Now, what was he told in Isaiah chapter 7? The name would be called of the baby. He said his name was going to be Emmanuel. All right. Spoil quickly, plunder speedily. Okay. And then it says, as I pulled up uh, in my teaching, that this I got from godrules.net. All right. Notice that it said right here where it says origin, right? It gives you the name, the Strong's number 86005. And then it says origin from 5973 and 410 with a pronominal suffix inserted with us is God. And then it says Emmanuel, a type name of Isaiah's son. Emmanuel. There you have it. All right. So he was told to call his name Emmanuel. He's told the baby would be called Emmanuel. We see here that it only makes sense that his name would be Emmanuel. All right. Continuing to read, it says, and we know, before I continue, we know the Most High. We know the name Emmanuel means God with us. All right, or our power with us, the Most High with us. All right. So it says then, continuing in verse 5, it says, and the Most High spoke to me yet again, saying, because this people chooses not the water of Shalom or Siloam that goes softly, but wills to have Razin and the son of Remelius to be king over you. Therefore, behold, the Most High brings up upon you the water of the river, strong and abundant, even the king of the Assyrians, and his glory, and he shall come up over every valley of yours, and shall walk over every wall of yours, and he shall take away from Judah every man who shall be able to lift up his head, and every one able to accomplish anything, and his camp shall feel the breath of thy land, O God with us, right? And then it says in the KJV at the end, O Emmanuel. So clearly this baby that was just born was named Emmanuel. Okay. Once again, we see continue to read chapter 8. Know you Gentiles and be conquered. Hearken you even to the extremity of the earth. Be conquered after you have strengthened yourselves. For even if you should again strengthen yourselves, you shall again be conquered. And whatsoever counsel you shall take, the Most High shall bring it to naught. And whatsoever word you shall speak, it shall not stand among you, for God is with us, right? Or you could say, oh, Emmanuel. So, a virgin shall conceive, and a baby will be named Emmanuel. Check that off the list. Completed. All right. Butter and honey shall he eat. Butter and honey shall he eat before he knows either to prefer evil or choose the good. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 7, verse 17 through 22. But the Most High shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon the house of thy fathers days which have never come, from the day that Ephraim took away from Judah the king of the Assyrians. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall hiss for the flies which insect shall rule over a part of the river of Egypt, and for the bee which is in the land of the Assyrians. And they all shall enter into the clefts of the land, and into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves, and into the ravine. In that day the Most High shall shave with the hired razor of the king of Assyria beyond the river the head and the hairs of the feet, and will remove the beard. And it shall come to pass in that day that a man shall rear a heifer and 2 sheep, and it shall come to pass from their drinking an abundance of milk, that everyone that is left on the land shall eat butter and honey. All right. So the Most High says, yo, when I bring the Assyrians, this is what's going to end up happening. People are going to be eating butter and honey. All right. So we see that this kid who's born in this time period is being set up to eat butter and honey because of the things that are going to happen. All right. The third one, the 2 kings, land forsaken. Isaiah 7, starting in verse 16. For before the child shall know good or evil, he refuses evil to choose the good, and the land shall be forsaken, which thou art afraid of, because of the 2 kings. All right. It says, starting in Isaiah chapter 7, verses, hold on, is that right? Yes, Isaiah 7, 1 through 9, just showing you who the 2 kings are. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Ozias, king of Judah, there came up Razin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remelius, king of Israel, against Jerusalem to war against it. But they could not overtake it. All right, I'm just going to stop there and continue just to save a little bit of time. All right. And then it says again in verse 5, and as for the son of Aram and the son of Remelius, for as much as they have devised an evil counsel, saying, we will go up against Judea, and having conferred with them, we will turn them away to our side, and we will make the son of Tabeel king of it. Thus saith the Most High of hosts, this counsel shall not stand. This counsel shall not abide, nor come to pass. But the head of Aram and the head of Damascus is Razin. And yet within 65 years, the kingdom of Ephraim shall cease from being a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaron, and the head of Samaron, the son of Remelius. All right. And then he says, but if you will not believe, neither will you at all understand. So these are the 2 kings. All right. And when we seen the baby born in chapter 8, verse 4, when we seen the baby that was born, all right, this is what the Most High told Isaiah. All right. This is what Isaiah prophesied. It says, before the child shall know how to call his father or his mother, one shall take the power of Damascus and the spoils of Samaria before the king of the Assyrians. All right. So literally, he said, yo, one shall take the power of Damascus, that was Aram, or I'm sorry, that was Razin, right? And the spoils of Samaria, and that's Ephraim or Israel, before the king of the Assyrians. So this, before this child that is born to the prophetess gets to a certain age, all this is going to take place. All right. So you can see that this baby from Isaiah 8 is the same baby mentioned in Isaiah 14, as it was mentioned that both of the kings, right, would be forsaken of the land in verse 16 of Isaiah chapter 7. In Isaiah 7:16, it said that the land would be forsaken of both of his kings. All right. So did we see this come to pass? All right. In Second Kings in your KJV, which is Fourth Kings in the Brenton Greek Septuagint, in chapter 16, verses 5 through 9, it says, "Then went up Razin, king of Syria, and Pake, son of Remelius, the son of Israel, against Jerusalem to war and besieged Ahaz, but could not prevail against him. At that time, Razin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Syria and drove out the Jews from Elath. And the Edomites came to Elath and dwelt there until this day. And Ahaz sent messengers to Dalgath-Pileser, king of the Assyrians," right? All right, so now we're seeing the Assyrians brought in as promised, saying, "I am thy servant and thy son. Come up, deliver me out of the hand of the king of Syria and out of the hand of the king of Israel, who are rising up against me." And Ahaz took the silver and the gold that was found in the treasures of the house of the Most High. So Ahaz is so afraid. He's like, yo, just take what we got. And of the king's house, and sent gifts to the king. And the king of the Assyrians hearkened to him. And the king of the Assyrians went up to Damascus and took it and removed the inhabitants and slew King Razin. Right? So we were already told before the child could say mom or dad that, yo, Damascus and Israel were both going to get it. And now we already see Ahaz already went to the king of the Assyrians. King of the Assyrians said, yo, I got you. And he went and took Damascus and killed King Razin. All right. So we're seeing, boom, that part of the prophecy has been fulfilled. All right. Now, let's read Second Kings chapter 7. Fourth Kings in the Brenton, Second Kings in your KJV, chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. We're going to see the fulfillment of the other half. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea the son of Elah to reign in Samaria. Right. This part goes especially back to within 65 years, Israel will be removed away as well. Right. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judea, began Hosea the son of Elah to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did evil in the eyes of the Most High, only not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Salmanassar, king of the Assyrians, and Hosea became his servant and rendered him tribute. And the king of the Assyrians found iniquity in Hosea, in that he sent messengers to Sagar, king of Egypt, and brought not a tribute to the king of the Assyrians in that year. And the king of the Assyrians besieged him and bound him in the prison house. And the king of the Assyrians went up against all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it for 3 years. In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of the Assyrians took Samaria and carried Israel away to the Assyrians. So now Israel is gone. And settled them in Aleh and in Abor, near the rivers of Gozan, and in the mountains of the Medes. So now we've seen both the kings, Damascus, Razin, taken out. We've seen, we've seen Hosea bound, thrown in prison. We've seen Israel carried away into captivity. All right. So when it comes to the third one, the land and the people which Ahaz is afraid of that will be forsaken because of the two kings. Yo, we see that part of the prophecy concerning the child. We see that fulfilled. All right. So it is fair to say that once the people living in a particular time period that have heard a prophecy and then have seen it fulfilled before their eyes, that they could say that that prophecy came to pass. The prophet who spoke it was a legit prophet, and they would not be looking for that prophecy to be fulfilled again. Okay, so those are fair statements. You can't say I I mean, you could say it, but I don't think it would be accurate. You know, I definitely don't think it would be accurate, but it is fair to say that, yo, once these people they heard the prophecy and then they seen it fulfilled, and they could say, yeah, yo, this is a legit prophet, and that's it. Like the prophecy came to completion. That's it. We're done. So now I'm gonna be opening up the panel for discussion. I'm gonna put the link for the Zoom. I'm sorry, not for the Zoom, for the StreamYard. So if anybody wants to hop on, speak, or if you just want to stay limited to the chat box, you can drop your questions in the chat. I'm going to be looking at them, but I'm going to drop the link in right now. And these are the questions that I'm going to be asking, and I'm going to keep it up on the screen for you can so you can see it, right? So the questions are going to be basically dealing with this prophecy, Isaiah 7, 14 through 16, right? Number one, how can Yeshua fulfill this prophecy, being that the child born was to be a sign for Ahaz, that the two nations coming to war against him would not overtake Jerusalem, right? So the baby was to be a sign for Ahaz, number one. Number two, Yeshua was not born during this time period. All right, that kind of goes, it's kind of attached to number one a little bit. And number three, all right, how can Yeshua fulfill this prophecy, being that there were no two nations coming to war against Jerusalem during Yeshua's childhood, Yahusha, Yahushai, during his childhood, Jesus, whatever you want to call him. All right, there were no two nations coming to war against Jerusalem during his childhood, nor during the entire New Testament time period. So these are the questions that I have for any Christians, any messianic believers. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna drop the link. And if anybody is brave enough to hop up in here, or even if you're not a messianic believer and you just, maybe you're starting to see the truth, as I would say, maybe you're starting to see the truth and you want to just add your comments or say something. Like, the floor is gonna be open. All right. The floor is going to be open. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But let me get this link, and I'm going to put it here in the chat. And if anybody wants to hop on and just join the conversation, feel free. The link is there. I'm just going to be speaking. And what I want people to understand is, like, yo, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not somebody who is just trying to bash the New Testament Messiah. That's not my thing. That's not my thing. I'm not just trying to bash the New Testament Messiah. And I used to be a messianic believer myself. It's something that, I was questioned on. And, like, for those who have seen my testimony, if you haven't seen my testimony, go check out my testimony. Hey, it's just a question that somebody gave to me. They posted, and it made me think. I prayed about it. Next thing you know, I'm reading scripture and I see something that's a red flag. So yeah, if there's anybody who's brave enough, and I know there's people that have been being told to shoo away from this conversation. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And if no messianic believers come to challenge this, they're going to have to take an L on this. They're gonna have to take a big L on this, because a lot of people was saying a lot of things. A lot of people was acting like, yo, I'm gonna come through, and y'all been taking L's, and the Tanakh only people have been taking losses and all these things. But when it comes to it, like I said, Brother Ron, Divine Prospect, Brother Ron Shield, yo, he bailed out on this conversation, this dialogue. Because when you show somebody a breakdown like this, it's very hard to it's hard to debate this. It's hard to debate this, you know. People come in, and then what happens is people want to run to the next prophecy extra fast, quick, fast, in a hurry. All right. Had somebody email me talking about Isaiah, what was it? Talking about Daniel 9 and Isaiah 53. So you have two prophecies that I haven't gone over yet, right? And then you have all these other prophecies that I have gone over and broken down. So you have at least 10 prophecies that I've broken down, and I've showed you how they don't have nothing to do with Yeshua, Yahweh Shai, right? You have 10 prophecies, and then you have two. So you tell me which holds more weight if we put it on a balance beam. Just 10 prophecies showing that this is illegit fulfillment of prophecy hold more weight than two prophecies that you're not even certain of. Like you think that it points to Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yesiah. You think that it points to them, but you haven't seen you know you haven't really broken down those prophecies in their proper context. So what holds more weight? Let me ask you guys, what holds more weight for those that are watching? What holds more weight to you? Two prophecies or 10 prophecies? In other words, if I show you 10 prophecies and you're like, yo, the Messiah doesn't fulfill those prophecies, are you going to cling on to the two prophecies, or are you going to cling on to the 10 prophecies? Just put in the chat like 10 or 2 or a undecided. If you're undecided, like, just put it in the chat. This is something that a lot of our people, it's what I'm seeing, they're not really thinking about it. They're not really thinking like, yo, this man just broke down 10 prophecies, showed how they had nothing to do with Yeshua. But you know what? You didn't talk about Isaiah 53. You didn't talk about Daniel 9. So therefore, I'm still going to cling on to these. This is what I see a lot of people doing. Yo, well, what about Daniel 9 and Isaiah 53? Huh? Like, bro, I just broke down more. I just broke down at least 10 prophecies for you and showed you them in kind of. Why would all of a sudden that Isaiah 53 hold up and Daniel 9 hold up when all these other prophecies didn't hold up? Why would those prophecies all of a sudden just hold up, but you have every other prophecy that I've broken down? And I try to take these in order. I try to take them in chronological order as he fulfilled them. Daniel 9 and Isaiah 53 would be the last two prophecies, right? Two of the last prophecies that he fulfilled. So if all of these prophecies, right? If all of these prophecies are, William said, Isaiah 53:10 cuts Yahweh Shai. Hey, well, let's see what that is. Let's see what Isaiah 53:10 says. All right, because hey, they're really not up in here like that, And I expected there to be some. I expected there to be. Oh, whoops. Close this. I expected there to be some catting out on behalf of the Messianics. They talk a big game, but when you really look into it, all right, you said Isaiah 53:10. I want to see what that says. Isaiah. Oh, what happened? Hold on, y'all. My computer's acting funny right now. Come on. Come on, computer. Yo, what's going on? Come on. Yo, what's going on? Oh man, did this thing really just freeze up like that? Oh man. Oh my goodness. Come on. Yeah, my computer froze. I don't even know if y'all can hear me or not. Let me oh. Hey dude, don't be barking, dude. Oh man, what happened? Dude, stop barking. Hey, come here. Stop. Oh man. Oh, I'm still on. I'm sorry, folks. My computer froze and I can't see anything going on right now. Um okay, you can hear and see me still. My screen froze. I'm sorry, fam. And now my dog's going crazy because my sister just showed up. Um, but I don't know. I don't even know how to fix this right now. Unfortunately. So, this sucks. But yeah, I'm guessing. I'm guessing they didn't want to show up. Which I assumed that would happen. Um, I assumed this would happen. So you know, there's not too much else I have to present. I really wanted to deal with one prophecy at a time and come through, with, and come to discuss and conversate. But I can tell you this, a lot of New Testament teachers and leaders are scared to have this conversation. They're scared to have this conversation because it proves that, going in depth, a lot of us coming into this faith, right? We come in and we're so quick to get to the New Testament, right? And start seeing the Messiah. We're so quick to get to the New Testament and start seeing the Messiah. Um, and then we start going over these prophecies and we're like, yo, they're legit. These prophecies are legit talking about him. And not many of us have actually really studied or been taught how to study the New Testament. Um, I'm sorry, how to study the Old Testament and get the proper context. And that's how they play us on our ignorance when it comes to the fulfillment of prophecies in the New Testament. If we don't know any better, of course, we're going to look and say, okay, these prophecies have been fulfilled. These prophecies, they've been fulfilled. All right. We're going to look and say, oh, hopefully Sweet. All right, family. I don't know. Somehow there's two of me's up right now, but I just came back. But yeah, a lot of us haven't really learned how to properly study the prophecies, and so when with that being said, right? Um, with that being said, oh, now I'm frozen. Okay, okay, going back on. Thank you, moderator. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Sister Adrian. So yeah, basically, a lot of us, we've been going through these old we've been going through the New Testament, seeing the fulfillment of prophecies, and you know, we haven't really been taught about the Old Testament enough so that we properly break them down and can say, and judge with our own senses to say, hold up, this is a fulfillment or this isn't, you know. And the prophecies are deep. Like those things take time, and if no one helps guide you through them, you're just lost. And then you're easily manipulative, like manipulatable, right? I think that's the word. All right, you can be easily manipulated like that if you don't have a clear understanding of the Old Testament prophecies. And that's what they've done in this. That's what they've done with the faith. That's what they've done. They got people from the Old Testament, like, oh yeah, oh no, hey, hold up, get to the New Testament because you're gonna want to read that, and then you're gonna want to go all the way back through, right? Then you're gonna want to go all the way back through, and then you'll be able to see this. So like they brainwash you with the New Testament so that you will see it all the way through the Old Testament when you read it. But if you just read the Old Testament, if you study it slow and properly, then you'll see, oh wow, hold up, this is this doesn't make this is not lining up, because you have the notes, you have whatever. If you properly are taught how to understand the Old Testament, and this is the problem, folks. A lot of us were never properly taught how to understand the Old Testament. So when they come with the okey doke, we just go for it, right? When they come with the okey doke and just, hey, this here, read this and go for this, we just automatically going for it. So, Brother Williams, I see you want to come in. Greetings, brother.
Hey, Shalom, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, my brother. Can you guys hear him all right?
Yo, so I have a question. I want to know what do you think about the Hebrews that try to say, hold on, let me turn my TV down. What do you think about the Hebrews that try to say the book of Matthew or the Gospel of Matthew was written in Hebrew?
It was originally written in Hebrew.
Yeah, and like when I try to research the origin of the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
I can't find any like clear evidence
Mm-hmm.
of its Hebrew origination, but like I'll search something up and it'll say Aramaic Hebrew, or
Yeah.
it'll say how it was first written in Greek and then translated to Hebrew afterwards. Like it's kind of unclear, and then you'll have Hebrews that try to say it's reliable instead of
Okay.
like the other pieces of the New Testament, which is confusing.
Yeah. No, I've heard that. But the lack there's a lack of evidence to
Right.
prove that it was originally written in Hebrew. Now they're trying to say, I don't know if you've heard this, but there's some posts that have been going out. They're trying to say that the Vatican has the original Hebrew Gospels, right?
Mm.
That they have the original Hebrew Gospels, that they've been holding on to them. Now, my biggest question when it
Yeah.
comes to that is, are the original Gospels exactly the same as the ones we got? Or
Right.
at least when we're talking about the prophecy and fulfillment, right? If the original Gospels are written in Hebrew, does it say that he fulfilled the same prophecies? Like, if we go through the list of prophecies, does the Hebrew Gospels say that he fulfilled the same prophecies? Because if they don't, then I mean, the question is going to be how did you validate him as the Messiah then? If because that's the only way they did it in the New Testament was they used the prophecies to say that he was the Messiah.
Exactly.
So if they don't match, then they have an error. There's problems, and if they do match, there's still problems. So
Facts.
they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck in that. And like the sister said, the Gospels were written in Greek. And so and you bring it out, they can't be trusted. They can't be trusted because we know the original writers, or the supposed original writers, were supposed to be Hebrew. Why wouldn't they write these books in Hebrew for the Hebrews that they were supposed to be seeking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't they? So yeah, when it comes to people saying that they're written in Hebrew, I'm like, it for me it really doesn't matter, because you can't prove it, if they're, even if they were written in Hebrew, if it says the exact same thing or close to the exact same thing, we still got issues dealing with the prophecies. So they're really on this one, the messianic believers and the pushers and the teachers, bro, they're out on a limb. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
hanging by thread, right? Like the skimpish thread right now. Like, if not, they're not hanging on, they're hanging on to some invisible smoke. Because it's a lie. It's a lie. You know what I'm saying? So nah,
Right.
yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I definitely don't understand, because then you have some Hebrews who actually can read. What they're calling is their original Hebrew is called the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Gabarai. Um, they're saying that's our actual Hebrew, and the Yiddish, the white man's version of Hebrew is actually like a Hellenistic or a Canaanite version of the real thing, is what they're saying. And like, I just get confused because these guys, um, they're really Torah only, but then they bring up the Gospel of Matthew, which it has like the smallest differences in the Gospel in the supposed Hebrew version of the Gospel of Matthew compared to the Masoretic text or the Greek Septuagint or whatever is in Greek. Is Matthew at the end of the book in Matthew 28:18 through 20, instead of how Jesus says he's on the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit or something like that.
Mhm.
And I can't really recall because I don't really touch back and forth with the New Testament like that. But I read that verse 19 was actually replaced in the Masoretic and Greek texts.
Yeah, I actually learned that too in my fellowship from one of our elders. He was telling me, yeah, like when it talks about the Father, Son, he was like, that was inserted. And also, I believe it's in First John chapter 5. He said that there's a piece that was inserted where they try to say it was something about three bearing witness. I think in heaven, there's three that supposedly bear witness in heaven and three that bear witness on earth. But I
Mm.
think maybe it was the three that bear witness in heaven, which is the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son, I think, or something like that. I think it was those three that were inserted in. So there were insertions into the New Testament because, of course, they're trying to push a Trinity doctrine as well. They're trying to push that Trinity doctrine, and for I believe I showed it one day. But if you look up the Greek Septuagint, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
look up the Greek Septuagint, what you'll see is in that verse, there's a verse in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, where it says, um, uh, what does it say again? It says, unto us a son is born, a child is born, a son is given. He shall be called, in the KJV, it says, like, he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, God Almighty, Prince of Peace, right? It says all that. You look in the Brenton Greek Septuagint, it only says he's going to be called Messenger of Great Counsel, unto his peace there should be no end. And that's all it says. So the KJV has been used and altered to force a Trinity doctrine to try
Most
to.
definitely. Right.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of discrepancies with the KJV, in the New Testament period. right? And a sister said interpolations to justify the Trinity, and that's exactly what they do. They take they take something and they try to use it, somewhere else to justify their Trinity doctrine. They try to take that from Isaiah and they try to bring that over to the New Testament to try to justify their Trinity doctrine.
Right.
And that's not how. Number one, that's. I mean, you can somewhat there's a level to interpolation that you can use in the Old Testament, right? There's a certain level that I use it, but I try to make sure that when I'm using it, it makes sense and everything is still connected, and I'm not doing something far out. For instance, like when it says, the fear of the Most High is to hate evil. When I'm doing my teachings, I might replace where it says the fear of the Most High. I might show people like, yo, to hate evil, if to hate evil is the fear of the Most High, then you could kind of interchange those.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that with everything. You can't do that with everything. But yeah, brother, it's there's so many issues with the New Testament. There's so many issues with the New Testament. It's not funny, and I feel, man, I don't want to hurt feelings. I don't want to hurt feelings, but I gotta be 100% accurate, bro. Like I'm sad and disheartened, you know, from the lack of teaching that I got. I've been around a lot of elders, bro. I've been not just my research. I've been around a lot of elders.
Mm-hmm.
None of them, bro, have taught me how to understand the scriptures the way I'm beginning to understand them now, and that's disheartening because I feel like they've done if you're not teaching the people that are under you how to properly understand the prophecies, how to properly put two and two together, time periods, all that things, how to show them. If you're not properly teaching them how to do these things, you failed. And that's how Christianity has thrived. It's thrived from a lack of teaching people. In fact, if you see my one video where I pull out there's what's it called? The letter of King Leopold, right? King Leopold's
Mm-hmm.
letter to the missionaries. I did a video on that. And within that letter, it says he says to teach the niggers to read and not to reason.
Oh yeah, I think I seen that.
You know what I'm saying? So he's teaching that they don't want us to think and use our brains and actually reason within the scriptures. They just want us to read and then just regurgitate. That's
Right.
it. That's how we get fooled. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that going on within these camps. A lot of these fellowships are not properly breaking down. And I was on a brother's channel just last night, and I was telling him, like, a lot, even me, myself included, a lot of us, bro, we're not supposed to be teaching. And there's teachers right now, elders over fellowships, that got zero business teaching, like
Exactly.
zero business teaching, because they're not seeing these errors and contradictions. They're not seeing, like, they're not seeing this lie that's being pushed, and they're
Right.
not understanding the Old Testament. They got zero business teaching right now because they don't see these things, and they're not guiding the Most High's people away from the lie. So, it's those are the things that we're up against in this time period. You know.
Exactly. And another teaching I want to call out is a false teaching of that verse they like to pick off on. Here a little, there a little. I forget. Is that in Isaiah? If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Isaiah. What verse is that? If somebody
Line
knows that
upon
verse,
line.
yeah, line upon line, here a little, there a little.
That's exactly how they teach, and really, I feel like they take it out of context in a way because they'll grab one verse, like you said earlier, one verse from one chapter, and then try to jump a whole nother meaning on top of that verse and
Yeah,
just push that doctrine out like it makes sense. And that's where a lot of our brothers and sisters get or kind of carried away on. You know what I'm saying? Like here a little and
yeah,
there a little. I feel like First of all, I feel like if you're teaching, you should teach in the right context of what each prophet or what the writing is saying. First of all, and in my opinion, just the New Testament alone does not correlate with the Old Testament, because just for example, you have Yahushua telling people or telling his disciples to go among the Gentiles and preach the gospel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a verse in Isaiah 42:2 telling or the Most High saying, or not the Most High, but Isaiah saying his elect is not heard in the streets. So there's a lot of contradictions, and I like you said, the New Testament, our people just like to jump on that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's it. Take one verse out of the Old Testament, use it to validate your Messiah in the New Testament, and that's their here a little, there a little. Like that's their Isaiah 28:10 is that verse where it says precept upon precept, line upon line. But that's exactly what's happening is they're taking one verse and you, for me, the biggest problem that I see is, and one of the biggest issues that
Hello,
irritates
can you
me.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you for some reason.
Oh, you can't. Oh, snap. Let me see. Can you hear me now? Hold on, what happened?
I hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yep. That
Okay,
was just
cool,
my
cool.
phone.
All right. Yeah, so what one of the biggest things that bothers me is like we have a lot of Hebrew Israelites, people in the faith that are saying like um we don't cherry pick verses, right? We don't cherry pick. We read the whole scriptures. We don't eat clean because when we read the entire passages, you know, in the New Testament, like Yahushua, Yeshua, Jesus, he's not teaching us to break the law. Like we read things in thorough. We don't cherry pick. They love to get on Christians about cherry picking, but ever since I've come into this truth and I've talked to messianic believers, they've done nothing but cherry picked the Old Testament, taking one verse, trying to apply it over here, and that's it, you know. And it's sad, but the enemy knows, like, yo, what is it? What there's a saying, and it's kind of derogative, but somebody said it to me one day, and I'm just gonna say it right now, just for learning purposes. Please don't get mad and like unsubscribe because I said what I said. But you know, this is it goes, if it goes, if you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in a book and he won't even consider. And I was like, whoa. But when it comes to really reading deep and getting into doing, having to do the heavy and the real research,
Right.
are people just like they happy where they're at? You know, I got people unfriending me, like, yo, you know, hey, let's talk about this. Nope, don't want to talk about it, don't want to go in depth. So you're willing to tell me that I'm wrong, but you're not willing to sit down and go over scripture with me.
Man.
That's the part that I have. That's the part that's most disheartening to me, you know. And like for people, like at the beginning when I mentioned I had to sit down, well, not a sit down, but I was on Divine Prospects channel, and I was talking to him.
Mm.
It was good, but then all of a sudden, you know, and I believe as scholarly as Divine Prospect is, there's no way this brother don't see these things. There's no way. And that's why he closed off communication with me, because he knows, yo, if I bring this brother on, or if I address this or address it again, it's going to stir up some things. I believe he knows the truth, you know, but he deals with a lot of Kemets. He deals with Freemasons. He deals with Moors. Like he associates with those people. Like he associates with them. So I wouldn't even, me personally, as much as I respect the brother's scholarly work, you know what I'm saying, and his drive to help the community, like There's certain things I highly question, and I'm like, yo, bro, are you truly of the Most High, or are you a wolf in sheep's clothing? You
Right.
know, and I know that's a strong statement, but I'm gonna put it out there. Like that's how that's you know, some people could say, oh, you're just hating, you're just this and that. Well, think about it. Like, even let's just for those people who believe in the New Testament, doesn't it say darkness does not have any kind of association with light?
Right.
Doesn't it say like how does light and darkness commune together? Like, so you tell me how somebody who's supposed to be the Most High is chilling and kicking it with people who are, you know, masons and chemists and all those things. But
Right.
people are running from this conversation. They're running from this dialogue. They're running from this because they don't have what it takes to prove this wrong. This is it. This is the end line. And when our people give this up, we're talking about deliverance.
Hmm.
When our people give up Yeshua, Yahushai, Jesus, when they give him up, we getting delivered out this joint.
Facts.
That's the only
The
thing
truth
holding us
hurts,
back.
man. The truth hurts.
It does. It does. It does. You know, so I appreciate brothers like you know, who come in, who do the time, take the time to study, look at these things, and we're trying to get out of this lie. A lot of our people, they just like, you know, and we need help. So even for like the few people watching right now, hey, as much as you have access to our videos, share them. Whether it be mine, I can tell you the two other people that I respect that are into this truth as well. G Dash the Prophet. I know he can kind of go a little off, when we talk about language quality. Some may say, oh, he's a little, vulgar, but hey, he's bringing out this truth. The brother Eli Israel, check out his channel. He's bringing out this truth. Spread our videos because this thing is tied to our deliverance. Don't be ashamed. Spread this truth on your Facebook pages, through your WhatsApp, through your messages. You got family, friends, whoever. Spread this truth and begin to get it out there, And I'm always willing to, hey, if somebody wants to talk, they have questions and you don't have the answers, slide on my email. My email is always available. THEWAYEVERLASTING8@gmail.com. I'll put it in the box for y'all to see it. But yeah, it's always just get this out. Get this out. All right. Get this out to as many people as possible because this is tied to our deliverance as a nation, as a people. Like, this lie is what's holding us here. So the more people you spread this to, you doing that work. Don't let the day come. The Most High is like, yo, what did you do to remove this lie, to help other people come out of this lie? I'm doing all that I can do just by putting this up here for it to be accessed. And so spread this to as many people as possible. Spread these teachings. The series, the gospel or gospel, right? Or have we been enslaved through a false gospel of Messiah? Spread that. Spread the testimonies. Sister Wanda came on here, gave a beautiful 2-part testimony. I shared my testimony. I'm trying to get others on to share their testimonies about coming out. If any of you are willing to share your testimony, hit my inbox, shoot me an email, leave a comment. Because what we have to do is get this out. Because if we don't get this out, the more we hold it, the longer we hold this truth, the longer our people are going to be in captivity. Because a part of coming out of captivity is the fact that we have to return back to the Most High. And if we're holding on to JC and we're trying to return back to the Most High going to be like, nope, get away from me. I'm not messing with you. He's like waiting for us to be like, all right, we don't got JC. We coming in open hands. We just want you like this. But if we coming in holding JC or holding JC And the Most High is like, yo, we try to go. He's not gonna come towards us like that. You know, oh, you trying to come to me? Nope, get out of here. Oh, that's where we're at. So it's really important that you guys share these videos, share this information, even if it hurts feelings. And I know some of y'all may not like, oh, I know some of y'all may got brothers or sisters, who you can be sharing this information with. My brothers, share it with share it with the elders, share it with people, say, look at this. What about this? Why? Because my questions, no one, they taking an L tonight. They're taking the Messianics, New Testament believers, they taking a big L tonight. So it's 1-0. It's 1-0 on the board. Tanakh only winning because they didn't show up. They didn't show up to discuss anything, and like I said, I didn't want to make it just I didn't want to just make it about going back and forth, right? I didn't want to just make it about that in beef. I wanted it to be something that where people can learn, and it sounds like it's going to be edifying. So share it with others. All right, but Brother Williams, if you got anything else to add, man, go ahead. If not, I'm gonna be closing out pretty soon, and
No, bro. Hey, I appreciate all the work you're pulling out, man. I like that last video you had. I'm definitely gonna share that around because that breakdown is just something our people need, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, fam. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. It's the brothers and sisters like you that support. I appreciate it. It gives me that drive, helps continue, to push me, knowing that I have people knowing that I have people in my corner, and that are seeing the same thing. So
somebody said you're one to know.
What?
Somebody said you're one to know in the chat. I just seen that. Is Adrian Shorty? I'm saying.
Oh, want to know? Yeah. Want to know? Yeah. Absolutely. Adrian, we want to know. They're not messing with this. We about to go undefeated with this thing. We're about to go undefeated with this thing. Like, for real. We're gonna go undefeated. They're not ready for this. They're not ready for this. Because they don't have answers. Like, I put the questions up. If anybody, I don't know if there's anybody. Are there any messianic believers in the chat right now? If you're a messianic believer in the chat, I'm not trying to put you on blast, but if you're willing to come on or answer questions, type 1. If you're in the chat and you're willing to come on, I'll post the link again. If you have a question, feel free to post it. But hey, this is one that I'm sure people will warn. Hey, stay away from that. Stay away. Why? Because when we talk about Freemasons, Illuminati, when we talk about especially just Freemasons and people at the lower levels and sectors, pawns and control, a lot of these camps, a lot of these fellowships, assemblies, ministries, like, look who's dealing with who, look who's saying what. You have to be very mindful. But I know when I started bringing this out, a lot of them started ducking and dodging. People who are ready to debate. They're ready to debate about the law. They'll debate the law every day, Monday through Sunday. They'll debate the law. They won't debate this. They won't. They are terrified. They right now they are, man, tail between the legs up a tree. Yes, Sister Adrian, Freemasons are all up in the awakening, the IUIC camps and everything. So, that's it, family. I could get on here and just go for days. Brother Williams, thank you for joining. My brother, I appreciate you hopping on here, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime. Anytime, my brother.
Thanks, bro. Good talking to you.
All right, you too, my brother.
Shalom.
All right, family. Well, hey, 1-0. We're gonna chop this up. We're gonna chalk this one up on the board. We got that 1-0. We looking good. you know, they terrified, share this, you know, let people see it. And hey, if they got the answers to my question and you're late, if you're extremely late and you got past all the little freezing issue or whatever I had going on, I didn't know, but from what it sounded like, you guys can still see and hear me. um hey, if you got the answers to my questions, please bring them, bring them, you know, bring them. I'm sitting here ready to hear them. But yeah, I knew people were gonna, cat out. Everybody was talking a big game, people talking big on Facebook, you know, people talking real big, but they they don't got the answers. They don't have the answers, you know. But they quick to try to run Isaiah 53. That's about the only scripture they can try to hold on to right now. They gripping onto Isaiah 53. They gripping onto Daniel 9 for their dear life, while every other prophecy is tugging them away. They holding on to those things for dear life. So if you're a New Testament believer, a Messianic believer, and you missed this, I'm gonna come back at it again. All right, I'm gonna open it up again. With the next one, we're gonna go over some other prophecies, and we're gonna work our way to Daniel 9 and Daniel 50, and Isaiah 53. We're gonna work our way there, but we're gonna go through all these other, because just like if you got a poster, imagine a poster on a wall. You got a poster on a wall, and I put thumbtacks all across the top of the poster. Let's say I put 20 thumbtacks up there. As I'm plucking off each thumbtack, Isaiah 53 and Daniel 9 are the last two thumbtacks. But before I even get there, guess what's going to happen to that poster? By the time I get to thumbtack number 17 or 18, and 19 and 20 is the only one left, that poster not even looking straight. No, it's going to be folded over on itself. You're not even going to be able to see it clear, because it's not enough. I'm sorry, but it's not enough. So as we go in order looking at these prophecies, as they were supposed to have been fulfilled, Daniel 9 and Daniel 50, Isaiah 53 were some of the last two. Those are like the last two. So they at the end. So if every other prophecy is coming down, that picture ain't holding up. I'm sorry. So family, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in for the 2 hours. Sorry for the technical difficulties that I had. But I love you all. Thank you to my moderator, Sister Adrian. Much love, appreciation to you. But yeah, folks, it's 1-0. Tanakh only is up. We looking good, and we got more firepower coming. So as we continue to break this down, I'll try to see if I can schedule another one for next Sunday. Most high willing, we'll get on next Sunday again. And hey, if they want to show up, they can show up in here and catch these scripts, you know, and we'll see what they got. But they took a L tonight. They took a major L tonight. And for those who've seen everything from the beginning, and if not, if you're coming in late, check out the beginning. I broke down how to look at prophecy, how to help you go through prophecies so you can understand prophecies in context. I'm trying to help you guys understand, not just getting up here just to go back and forth with people, but I want you guys to learn how to go through these things yourself, because you may have that friend or family that don't want to hear me. They want to hear you. They're like, you show me. And you might have to sit down with them and show them. So spend that time. Know how to research these things. I gave you some little tricks you can use, you know, but go back to the beginning and watch the breakdown and how you go over prophecy, what to look for, what to ask, what questions you should be trying to answer and solve. And then you'll have all that. All right, family. So thank you for joining me tonight. Look forward to next time. To all my brothers and sisters out there, may the Most High continue to increase you in all truth, wisdom, and understanding. May he guide you. May he prosper you and protect and provide for you in all your ways. All right, family. So with that being said, be increased and have a good night.